doing it. Excellent. So we'll just do the pieces that are useful, and then I'll have Holly loop them together. Holly, for those of you who don't know, is Andy's daughter and my video editor. This is great. Okay, so we are talking about glazing, and glazing is a technique I use a lot. I'm going to look at each of your paintings and make a recommendation on glazing, but I am going to demo it, if you don't mind, just so that I can show you how it works, and then you're going to try it with your paintings. So
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is this the same process that you would go through at the very end in your final glaze?
I mean, I often don't do a final glaze.
Oh.
I often will just varnish something if I want it to be, because I'll put a varnish over the top to seal things. Although sometimes I will. Yeah. I mean, it could be. By the time I get to the end, I'm usually spot glazing in different areas, depending on what needs. Sometimes I'll do a glaze if I feel like there needs to be a tying in of different areas. Sometimes I'll do that, because one of the things that glazing does is it kind of pulls pieces together, right, with this light film of color. But very often by the end, I've kind of done that several times, and now I'm looking to push this back a little bit, bring this forward a little bit. So I might use different colors in different places.
So what's the name of the varnish?
I use Gamvar.
Gamvar, okay.
I use Gamvar satin. We'll talk about that. Maybe I'll show you guys how to, you know what? I have this painting, which I feel like is done. So I'm happy to demonstrate.
Okay, good.
On this painting, how to, so it's good I have this demonstrate varnish. Okay. So a very good, so glazing requires that I have a liquid. If I'm working with acrylic, it means I need water. If I'm working with oil, I like to use Galkid Light. There are many kind of great, it's got kind of a honey consistency. I don't know if you can see it kind of rolling around in the jar there. So Jackie, you'll be using water with this technique. I will be using, the oils painters will be using Galkid Light. So the idea is I get a lot of liquid onto my canvas with a little bit of pigment, a kind of a transparent layer of pigment. There's a lot of reasons to do it. One reason is that color kind of bounces off each other. So although these are green trees and this is a blue shirt and this guy's kind of an orangey, skin tone, right? They're different colors. Because they're all next to each other, little bits of these colors reflect onto each other. There's green on him, there's a little orange on here, there's a little blue on here, you know what I mean? They all kind of bounce. So these different colors, if we have them kind of all over, even if we mostly cover them up, they add depth and texture and layers, and they will show through. The other reason is that sometimes we start out building something and it feels a little bit too disconnected. So one color might serve as a unifier. It'll often make things darker. So you'll have to come back. And Andy, the question you were asked, what you were asking about was pulling out. So as I glaze, I also have the opportunity with a paper towel or a paper towel or a rag, right, to pull some of the color out. There'll still be a little tiny bit, but if it's too dark in some areas, I don't want it that dark, I can wipe it off. So having said all that, and the other thing to know about Galkid Light, and one of the reasons I really like using it, is that it makes oil paint dry faster. So if often I'm working on a painting right now, I'll show it to you a little later. I put some paint on it a day and a half ago, and I always got my brush wet with Galkid Light, and it's now almost dry, so I can put my second layer on. So I like to work fast. I like that about this for oil. Obviously, do not mix it with, don't mix it with your acrylic paints. That will not work. They will not like each other. So I'm taking the first suggestion, which is this is a little cadmium red light. It's almost orange. And I'm going to get my brush like super wet. And then I'm just going to pull a tiny little bit. Can you guys see how little, I'm even dipping my,
sorry.
See how little paint there is on my brush? If I want to do what's called loading my brush, I'm going to show you what that looks like. If I want you to load your brush with color, I usually do not want you to get the brush wet, and I want the color piled on top like this. That's loading your brush. This is the opposite. Look, there's barely any pigment on here at all. Can you see it? It's mostly wet and watery. And that's because when I come up here and I start to do it, I start to add it in. Oh, that was the right idea, Diana. I like it already. Looks so much better. Also, with Galkin Light, you need to sort of dip back in a lot. It's kind of thick, and with water, you'll be able to go a little bit farther. So see how, even though I'm spreading this out, even though there's a lot of red on here, I can still see the painting. I can still see through to the final painting. So this is what we mean by a transparent layer of color. And look at what that's already doing. I'm going to take a picture of this for you so you guys can really see it. The light's okay in here, but honestly, this is warming up the painting, taking all those cool bits and making them glow a little bit. So I'm going to send you a copy of this so you can see it. And then I'm going to do a couple things to it.
And to spell it out a little bit more, when Jackie chose Cad Red and you chose Cad Red Light, it's because it's the complement to the greens mostly in that.
Yeah, and blues. And also it was looking kind of dull and cool. Like in general, the painting needed a little jazzing up. Yeah, great questions. And keep asking those questions because that's exactly the kind of questions. Let me show you what this looks like.
I think that back wall really went deeper and the grain and stuff stood out more.
Oh my God.
Didn't it? And look at even his face. So even though the light part of his face, now I still want his face to kind of come out a little bit more. So I'm actually going to come in and kind of wipe that away. See how I'm kind of wiping it away? So I still have red, but it's a very subtle mix. Probably going to do the same thing with his hands because I want his face to come forward and maybe down here a little bit in a couple of places. But yeah,
it did too. Doing that.
What's that?
That really brought his face forward.
It brought his face, right. So notice that what happens, right? When I glaze over things, very often it reduces contrast. It makes everything a little darker. So I sometimes will lose my contrast as I go, but I can always just pull it out like this. And I still have the glaze in there, but it's more subtle. I can really see it. Let me see if I can take a picture of this so you can see this. I can still see the glaze in the face, but it's just more subtle, right? Maybe I don't want these brush marks, these horizontal brush strokes marks going in. So I've tapped a little bit out. So now I can start layering colors on top of this. Even for you oil painters, even though this isn't dry, I can still layer color on top of it. It is true that some red might mix in, but that will also be kind of consistent with, that'll keep things kind of consistent and loose. So Jackie, you're just gonna do the same thing, but with water. And actually when I was looking at your painting, so let's take a look at everybody's paintings. I think Pat gave us the first painting this week. If you look at it on the thread, it's here. Does anybody have thoughts about a color that might send this forward? Or
It's actually a lavender car, not blue.
Yeah, that's okay. We can see that. Does anybody have thoughts on the color for this? Diana would love your input if you have ideas.
Which one am I looking for?
This one, I'm putting it up on the screen right now.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, what do you think?
I would do orange.
Ha, me too. That's funny. What do you think, Pat? Is that like?
I'm not sure about orange on the top half of that.
You just need to let it, remember, you can layer over the top of it. The whole thing, it's just about what's going to kind of warm things up a little bit. You don't want to spot, Pat, you don't want to spot hit at this point. It's not
what?
Everything look exactly the same, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
It's really about what's going to push this forward. And I agree, because of the purpley orangey, because of the purpley bluey here, I think a red will kind of give you some warmth to play with.
Okay, okay.
So I'd say either cadmium red, I'd say cadmium red light.
Okay.
Just like this one. All right, let's look at the next one, because that is Andy's painting. And I love this, by the way, Andy. This may be one of my favorite paintings you've ever done. Thoughts? What color should Andy glaze this one?
Boy, that's hard.
You can tell it was already glazed with like a light green at some point.
Yeah, you can see that in the window here and here.
A really thin phthalo blue.
Ooh. All right, you ready to take this and shift it? I promise we'll walk you through finishing it afterwards. A very thin phthalo blue. I love it. It's going to do great things, Andy, for your light, which I'm going to show you how to rework once you've got. And it's going to do real nice things for this area here. It'll also add some depth to your sky and your brown streak here as well. All right, so phthalo blue for you, but not very much.
Nope.
All right. Diana, you're on fire. What about this one?
I have to. Is this
That's the cad red.
Maybe cad red. Yeah.
I think I glazed it in cadmium red last time. Does it matter?
How about a
How about yellow?
Yeah, that's what I would say, like a yellow ochre.
Like a yellow ochre? All right, let's try it. All right,
Okay.
yellow ochre. Jackie, you got that?
Yep.
No, I'd say have a bright yellow.
Okay, now here's something completely different. Here's Joe's cityscape. Look at these colors. It's a little, so look at it on your WhatsApp screen if you can't see it here. But there are some great color combos here. My hit is green. Yeah, Viridian green. Yep.
Oh, good, yeah.
Green, Viridian green.
I'm wanting Dark Night.
Yeah, so that Viridian green is going to be the start to that. These are fucking fantastic, by the way. I love them. Diana, do you need advice on your color? I feel like your kitty is coming right along. Are you in a lazy mood with him?
Not quite yet, but I could be in a little while. I'm correcting where things goes up. My eyes are too close together, so
I see it. Awesome. But his little attitude is really coming out. All right, so all of you, I want you to do it.
But I'm ready to glaze it later.
Okay, great. And Andy, thank you for encouraging that. You're absolutely right. I should not we shouldn't miss out on the teaching moments in piecemeal fashion, right? Like even if it's not sort of part of a consistent whole. I'm glad you said this. I want to see how everybody's glazes turn out, and then I'll probably stop the recording until the next teaching moment. Although maybe that'll come right after this, you never know. this is an interesting class because, and remember to have your blankie nearby just in case you want to pull out color. I'm going to pull some of the color out from Dean himself, actually, so that I can see. Now look at what that does. So I still got this red, but now he kind of comes forward and the forest pushes back a little bit more, but he's got this nice glow around him. I don't even know where this photo is. I'm going to have to find it if I'm going to work on it anymore. I may or may not work on this painting more. Once you've done it, I'd like you guys to send it through, a picture through. And when you've kind of adjusted it with your blankie, I'd like to see it again.
Your blankie.
Blankie.
Whoops.
Hi, Leah. Should I do a glaze or just finish with the building greenish color that I was doing?
Glaze. Let's see. You need to send me your picture so I can see.
I did.
Oh, you did. Green. Okay, hang on. I'd like to see you do a yellow glaze.
The whole thing.
Yellow ochre. Yep. Just
okay.
wipe it off the areas that you don't like it. Try a yellow glaze, yellow ochre. That's what Jackie's doing. And then we'll talk about next steps.
Okay.
For each of you. Okay. So I think this is what we're able to do in this class, which I'm not really as much able to do in other classes. We can then look at the sort of what happens after the glaze. And we can have it by, we can talk about what are the things that happen next. Great. These are some great color combos, by the way, you guys. I'm really liking them. Ooh, nice. Yep. That definitely brought things forward. So Pat, the first thing we're going to do with you is actually correct the side of the car.
Oh, okay.
The proportions aren't correct, right? The perspective, I mean, maybe the proportions aren't correct, but really the perspective isn't correct. So let me look here and see. You're coming out a little bit here, too much out. Here, hold on, I'm gonna point this out so you can see how I did this on my car. Your car is sticking out too much on the side. It's really easy to do that. Can you see if you look at these two together, can you see the difference? Yours is kind of going out like this, just that much farther. And so it looks too wide on this side. So really what you need to do is bring your car in a little bit more with a light. So you need to chop it in. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can figure out how to do
that.
To show you what I'm talking about. I need to be able to edit this. Let's see. I add a line. All right, so let's see. So about, not that much. Here, wait. Ugh.
So I'd be making the car behind it bigger, basically.
No, you won't even really see it. You're going to cut up about this much of the car. I'll show you. Hold on. It goes like that. See where the blue lines are? You're cutting off that much of the car.
Okay,
so
not the...
Everything to the right of that blue line, you're going to create a kind of, I would mix it dark, like a kind of brownish dark. And you're going to, the end of your car is going to be everything to the right of the blue line.
Okay, not the window. Okay.
No, you're going to have to readjust the window. Ooh, Jackie, that looks awesome. That did something, didn't it?
Boy, it sure did.
Yeah, the problem is I've got this skylight and I can't take pictures without it glaring on.
Glaring, and you know, putting it straight up against a wall where there's no light shining, like a bookshelf or something, might work.
Yeah, I might try that. Yeah. Ugh.
So what I would do is in the lightest parts, I would wipe out as much of the yellow ochre as possible. So in the highlights, right? And that's in, like, I'll show you the light.
Looks great.
Like,
it gave it a depth.
Great. Diana is a master with color.
She is.
Always. So right here,
yep.
Jackie, you're going to wipe it off here. You're going to wipe it off here. And then leave here. And then leave everything else kind of with the yellow on top of it.
Okay.
Notice that this yellow kind of works for her to push the shadow side, the light sides of the shadow side back a little bit. All right. Let's see, who else? Ooh, Joe, I think that gave us something.
Yeah.
So now my question to you is, this is really beautiful. Do you want it to get darker than this, or I mean?
Well, I think I need more distinct that the building is not squared. It's I think I want to square that up. I'm okay, I guess, with this color. I would like to be darker.
All right, so I'm going to make a suggestion on how to darken your sky, but first go ahead and make the fixes on the building that you want to.
All right.
And then we're going to talk more about working those lights, those glowing lights, to make them
okay.
Okay. But yes, go ahead and fix the fixes. Boy, this is really badass, you guys. Anybody else want to send theirs over? How do they look? What I really love about all of these is how different they are, right? How much they, what a different mental, just depending on, like, even though we're using the same subject, I love how different emotionally these pieces feel. And it has to do with color choice. It has to do with surroundings. Some people chose to make this sky. I chose to make this a building. So Pat, like, these guys had an extra week last week to work on this.
Right.
I was working on paintings.
You wouldn't have wanted me here then.
What?
You wouldn't have wanted me here then.
Okay.
You have a bad week?
Yeah, I was, what did the Irish say? I was so down, it looked like up to me.
Oh.
The next day I started coming back, so.
Pat goes to that Irish place probably once every 2 months. Right, Pat?
That's true.
Sometimes it's better not to fight it.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes it's better not to fight it. And sometimes we've talked about how it's good to show up for things, and other times you just can't.
Sometimes you would bring the whole room down.
Oh, I don't think that's ever true.
Oh.
I don't think that's ever true. But sometimes you just don't have it. I got a text from a classmate earlier this week who just lost his dad. Oh, Andy, that's nice. And look at Andy. Look at how much it didn't really, look at how much it deepened your red. Do you see that? It really deepened your red in a way that it didn't wreck it at all. It just made it kind of richer. So I would say I'm really happy with the perspective on this car. I do think
Cool.
I do think the perspective on the road isn't quite right on this part. I think it's a little too steep. I think it should be going here. Let me see if I can do this. I'm going to try and edit this. I think it should be going.
I like the way Andy's light.
Yeah. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's great. Really
It's
nice.
really beautiful. I'm going to have you add a little bit more to that, Andy. But first, here, hold on. I just want to get this line right.
So the two thoughts that I had is that the road was too smooth, and no city road would be as smooth as those lines were. I was just kind of following the parallel from the sidewalk when I was doing that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So,
and then the side of the left side, the driver's side of that blue car is a little too smooth.
Oh, you mean like here?
No, a little lower below the window. Yeah, that my part of that door thing, it just looks too smooth. It should be.
You could add a little bit more light because there's a bit of the car that sticks out and catches the light here. I agree with you. So you could add that here, and then a touch. The wheel well here also could use a little bit more. Would it be helpful for you to see my painting up close, or would it be more helpful to see the picture up close?
Maybe. I could screw it up either way, so you could whatever.
Of this side of the car, so that you can see what I've done up close. But then I'm also going to go find the picture and take that picture so you can look at both. So that really is involved with getting the lights right? Those light shapes. Where are you, picture? You're here somewhere. Oh, it's so fun to see these. Like, it's here somewhere. Here, hold on. That's the thing. We know it's somewhere in the thread. I just have to go back far enough to find it. Ah, yes. Okay. This has some scribbles on it, but I think it'll work. I'm going to send it to Sunday Art, and then I'm going to do a close-up. There we go. So that you can kind of see even I didn't get it totally right. I got it mostly right. Eugene, this is going to help you. And Pat, this is going to help you as well as you're starting to work that side of that car. Okay, Jackie, your job now is to, let me look at your painting.
And I'm not quite dry.
Oh, well, okay. Send a picture over anyway with this out, just so I can take a look at it.
Okay.
And then I'm going to take a picture of this. You're closer than I am to finishing this thing. Yours is closer than mine is.
Well, that's because you were teaching me how to do it. So
there you go. All right. So I want to show you kind of the light sides of each of your, I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you the light sides. I'm going to show you I'm going to take a picture of the actual subject. Mm-hmm. Edit it. I like this thing. Okay, so this is your green pumpkin. Mm-hmm. And I want you to look at your light side versus the light side in the picture. Mm-hmm. So what do you see happening here? Basically, your left side versus the picture left side.
Well, mine is very dark.
Right. And it's very green. It's not so yellow.
Yeah.
Right? So your job is going to be to mix a light yellow green and put it in almost everywhere, but still try to maintain, notice that where my blue lines are, here, I'm going to take this without so you can see it without them. Those are darks.
Okay.
So to help create kind of soft edges. But your job is going to be to try and make this light side light. Sorry, I'm pointing at something you can't even see. Your job is to make this light side lighter.
Yeah.
So to do that, I'm going to suggest mixing green, viridian green, yellow, and a touch of cadmium red or maybe burnt sienna.
Okay. Which yellow?
And a lot less green.
Which yellow would you use?
Try them all, but I would start with cadmium yellow because it's
light or medium.
Yeah.
Does it matter?
It might.
Okay. Okay.
Warm yellow. This is a fairly warm yellow.
Yep.
What's interesting about this green is viridian green is very cool. And yes. This is a very yellowy, like.
So mainly yellow.
Yeah. Great job, Pat. Great job.
Really? Okay. I wasn't sure about it.
So look at now, so now look at this side. I'm going to put it right next to your again so you can see. So I want you to look at the shapes that are in here, Pat. There's a dark shape that goes up. So there's like the bottom of the car. What is really important here? Look at the dark shapes that are outlined in blue. Can you see?
I'm not following.
Tire and wheel well one. Here is the shape between the two tires. And then here is little tiny line indicating wheel well two. So really your job is to recreate these darks.
Okay.
Yep. And then you're going to see, look at the relationship, look at where, and here's something really important. Look at where the window ends, the dark of the window ends. See? This corner lines up with this back tire.
Oh.
So you're too far forward. So what you may want to do is chop off a little bit of the top right, bring that window. So look at these blue shapes. Use your dark to go around the outside if you need to carve up shapes. And compare it to yours.
So I need to bring that window backward.
Yes. Indeed.
Okay.
You've got your marching orders.
Yeah.
If you want to, work upside down. Not you personally. All right. Everybody else. Everybody's kind of working. Eugene, you can send me your piece if you want me to take a look at it. And I'm going to have you, Eugene, because you also extended the side of your car too far to the left. I'm going to have you chop your car back a little bit like I had Pat chop hers. So this is the time to make that correction. In this particular case, where's your painting? Where? Ah, yes. Yeah, yours is even farther than Pat's. It's very problematic. So, and you kind of went backwards. You kind of brought your, anyway, there's a lot of things going on here that need to be fixed. Let's see. I'm going to edit them and show you the first ones. So the first one is, that your window ends here, which means the side of your car ends here. Got it, Eugene? So that's the first thing.
Okay, I see that.
That's to the right, the left of the blue lines, you need to erase with dark paint.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And then we're going to talk about how you rearranging where you put everything. It's going to feel a lot better. So it's really easy to make things too big. Perspective is really hard to wrap your mind around. There's a kind of a translation that happens, and you almost have to let go of your idea of the shape of the thing traditionally and accept the idea that it's an entirely different shape. When you're dealing with things on the side, it's really shortened, it's really angled. All right, I'm going to stop the recording. All right, so I have here alizarin crimson, I have ultramarine blue, I have yellow ochre, and I have white. I'm just taking this off so I can start over again. So one of the things that we've been discussing is that one of the things that's going on is that Andy's lines are a little bit, perspective lines are a little bit off. So they're more like this, and they should be more like this. But the other thing that's happened is that he has put in kind of marks that you can see in the street that go the exact same, they're completely parallel. And that is very distracting to it. Our eye goes here, and really our eye should be skipping beyond here and kind of moving to the car. So this is like a block getting us to the car. So I want to mix a kind of gray color. It's a little bit lighter than the color that Andy's got there. It's I'm taking alizarin, I'm mixing a purple out of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson, and then I'm adding some yellow ochre to it to make it gray. It looks a little red, so I'm going to add more blue here. Okay, that's better. Better. And then I'm adding just a touch of white. Whoa, that's too much white. I'm mixing down here again. Notice I don't go back into my same pile of color if I go to white. I mix a new pile, and then just a tiny bit of white here and more yellow. So I wanted to kind of have this neutral, a little bit more blue. So I'm adjusting it so it kind of reads like a gray, and then I want to lay it in using a method called dry brush, where I have paint in my brush, but no medium. And I'm kind of lightly, horizontally laying down strokes to get rid of those distracting lines. If you can see, I'm almost tapping. Now, I personally feel this is too dark for me, so I'm going to make it, yours is darker than mine, so I'm going to make mine lighter again. I'm actually going to add a little red to it to get back to that original color, which I kind of liked. Right, but the principle is still the same. I'm kind of tapping and do dry brushing, which means I'm kind of dragging paint across and down so that I don't really see, and I can see part of the street color through. Oh, I actually like that better. Got that?
That's great. After my grays are always way too lavender, and I can't control it. So that
mine was too lavender too. I just kept dumping more color in until I got it to the right place.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, and I'm happy to do that again. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. Okay, So you want a brick red. I always start my brick reds. You mean like this?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. And that kind of dark and rich too?
Yeah.
All right. I have, let's see what happens. I add, okay, so I've got, I'm going to test this because I'm not exactly sure. I usually have to test it to see it. I've got this red color, cadmium red. And then I'm grabbing just a touch of green. Oh, that's too much.
That's Viridian green?
That's Viridian green. And look at how little I'm using. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I can use a little bit more. So that helps.
And that doesn't turn purple on you.
No. I'm using cadmium red and Viridian green.
All right, I'll try that.
Purple to you?
No.
And then
I
add a little bit of yellow ochre, just to kind of, and then a little bit more green, just to kind of push the dark a little bit, and then a touch more red. Talk about lights. Because Joe, you could stop and do some work on this. Andy, we could review and add some more detail to your light. So I want you all to stop for a minute and try it. Hold on. Looking for the right brush. Okay. So lights have a kind of softness to them. Kind of starting to get here. That's a little bit like clouds. So I don't know how many of you were around when we painted clouds, but clouds kind of start with this. We start with just paint and no medium, you know, no water, no gal kit or anything. And I kind of load up my brush a bit so that there's a fair amount of paint on it. And I do this spirally tapping motion. So I start in the center like that. And then I make circles out that get wider and wider. So that there's kind of a bright center, and then it softens as I move outward. So Joe, right now your light is looking a little too solid.
Mm-hmm.
Should be softer. See how I just keep coming around? And what's even better, which I didn't plan to do, but which I did with Joe and then realized what a great idea this is I added some color, some wet paint to my background. Here, let me just get that in with the brush. I tried to add it with my finger. That wasn't a good idea. I had blue on my finger. Come here, brush. All right, maybe it's here. Okay. So I added a little bit of light color here around, and then I tapped into it with my white. See that? So
that's just plain white?
It's white and yellow.
Yeah,
is it a cad yellow?
Yeah.
Okay.
See how I'm like, see what happens as I like kind of tap around? Look at how glowing that gets. I'm going to do that again here. So I've got white with just a touch of cad yellow. More white because I want it to be more white. And I'm kind of tapping, and then it just gets, as I go kind of spiral out, kind of get that. Remember when I said my computer was going out? It just went out. So I'm going to take the speakers out. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me from across the room. So did everybody get that? I was starting to say that I liked what Andy did with his. There's more lines around the edges, which is also fine. but it wouldn't hurt to get like sort of more, look at how bright those lights are looking now. Can you see that? So wherever you are, I'd like you to stop what you're doing. And like Joe, stop what you're doing with the sky and try to get a little bit more softness into your lights.
All right.
I think you'll be happy with that. I wonder, I'm gonna let this just plug in and be for a minute. Oh. Huh? Sandra. Now go in with the blue. Go in with the blue on the eyes. On the eyes. And so I think the formula is this fantastic, that's wonderful. You totally nailed it. And go in to the eyes with the blue and the fountain pen, and then just a touch with the ears. You're not going to have to do much else other than that. Do it again. Very nice. Oh my God, how fun is that?
Leah, sorry, are you sure you want blue rather than black?
Yeah.
Okay.
The blue will read nicely with the orange.
Okay.
Burnt sienna-y, orange, browny orange. Look, everybody. And what the glazes do, look at how bright that light is now, my light. Look at that. And if I want to, I'm going to show you, if I want to like push it back a little bit, if I feel like it's too dominant, I can do this. Like I'm drumming.